Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Paragon Competitive League. And up right now, we have a match that is going to dictate who moves on to day number 2 here, Pith, between Ratpack and Arctic Wolves. We've already casted these teams before. In fact, we've casted Ratpack twice now going into this. This will be our third time casting them. And the story of this matchup is Ratpack, who won against a team who was objectively not as good as them. Then they went up against Carbon. They looked good, but they started to falter in the mid game and ultimately ended up losing about the last 10 minutes of that match. Arctic Wolves, they put on a very back and forth match. A couple mistakes in the later stages of the game cost them that knocked them down here. So, I mean, it's kind of up in the air as to who the favorite is going into this. I think if Ratpack can look at their losses and realize where they needed to improve on the fly, I think they absolutely will win this. But if Arctic Wolves play the same level that they did and Ratpack don't come back with just a overall strategy going into this match and are demoralized, we could see Arctic Wolves moving on here. But I mean, it's going to be interesting, and I think it's probably going to be one of the closer matches we've had today.
Absolutely. It is a bit of an interesting kind of aesthetic here. Ratpack coming off a very difficult game versus Carbon. It's really difficult to be able to play against players like that who have been so dominant in whatever tournament they end up going into, getting to the finals many different times, and they're even feeling comfortable enough to play around with their lineup a little bit, putting in their sub B certified to be able to try him out on a couple of different positions and see how he does it in the match and what their team is able to do with that. But in terms of coming back from that play versus Carbon, Ratpack, honestly, what you have to do is you just have to write that off and say, you know what, we know that Carbon is a strong team. We know that we're a strong team too. We were just not enough in that last one, but we've got another match coming up to try to get into those semifinals. So they've got to, look forward a little bit, not care about what's in the past. You got to put your, as Rafiki would say, you want to put your past in your behind and keep on moving.
That's right, man. So let's get into this draft as it's going to boil down to this match right here. If these guys want to get themselves in contention in the semifinals and into that prize pool, which you guys, again, can contribute to over at the Matcherino using the coupon code PCL4. And that exclamation mark Matcherino will give you that command in chat. But let's get into this draft here, Pith, and see if we're going to see Muriel.
Are we going to see Muriel?
That's what it is. Are we going to see Muriel for once? Is she going to be banned out here? So Steel being banned out, that's pretty standard. Not surprised by that at all. And then, okay, so Arctic Wolves are going to ban out Howitzer. Muriel's on the table. Oh, my lord, oh, my lord. We might actually see the Muriel, the high-valued Muriel, as we so say. But Steel and Howitzer, Howitzer we've seen picked up many, many times throughout the day, specifically on Yo and Mikey. Arctic Wolves just like, nope, don't even want to deal with that rocket. We don't want to deal with that landmine. Take him out of the equation.
Yeah, UI Mikey, just one of the most dominant Howitzer players out there. And it's a good hero. You don't need to be UI Mikey to be good at Howitzer, as I'm sure I can attest to, because I'm super good at that hero. But no, but UI Mikey, he's just exceptionally strong on it, and it makes sense to take it out of the draft. But the thing is, that does open up a lot for Carbon to be able to go, or sorry.
Yes.
I'm just completely on the wrong game. Sorry, guys, UI Mikey. He's just so good that we got to talk about him during this draft. But
he really is that good. He really is.
He's just so good.
He transcends into other teams. Yes.
It's just, he gives them his energy now. But Arctic Wolves will take that out. They don't want that here. And it's still a very strong hero, even if it's not in the hands of someone like Yo and Mikey. But like I was saying, that does open up a lot of things for Ratpack to go for here.
So they first picked that Decker. No surprise. Decker's pretty good, as we've seen. And then Arctic Wolves here end up getting themselves a Rampage. And there's that Muriel, that highly contested Muriel, as you've so seen. I love the first two picks here from Arctic Wolves here, Pith. And this is something you've talked about throughout the course of the day, but really here, it doesn't automatically show their lanes.
Oh gosh,
that could be an off lane. That can be their off lane Muriel and a jungler on the Rampage. That could be a support Rampage and an off lane Muriel. That could be a support Muriel, or like there's just those two right there. Ratpack, other than seeing what heroes they're going to be facing, gained no knowledge into where Arctic was going to go from this draft from here on out. I love that. Very smart pick.
they do gain a little bit of knowledge. They know at least that there's going to be a Muriel and a Rampage in this game.
Yeah, right.
Another thing that the combo allows you to do is Muriel excels on heroes that, or paired with heroes that are able to engage into fights and possibly able to use the ROF in there on top of a hero that jumps in like the Rampage to be able to get a huge stun down onto a lot of different heroes if they're able to work well with that here. So I love seeing these two paired up. We've also seen it with a Seraph before, which has not been picked up yet in this draft. Could be in the future for Arctic Wolves. Yeah. But allows your heroes to stay alive longer through a fight and also set up some big stuns with the ROF coming in.
And then Aurora Sparrow coming into play here. We saw Crown on Aurora last match. First half of the match, great. Last half of the match, didn't really feel that impact. Now, the question I'm asking myself here is Ratpack going to be picking up Sevarog later on in the draft? Because we saw how very strong that is, and Ratpack doesn't have their jungler or offlaner. We saw the jungler Aurora and then the offlane Sevarog, but I think those two at this point are interchangeable. The Narbash being picked up by Arctic Wolves, so that's their support. So that leads me to believe here, Pith, that we have the, unless we're going to see jungle I don't know. They can go off the wires and do offlane Narbash. I would love Assassin Narbash visually. Who knows? We'll see.
Oh God.
But we'll see that. We'll see that support Narbash with whomever is going to be their carry at this point. I imagine it's either going to be Murdoch or Twinbots. Muriel in the offlane, Rampage in the jungle. I think that's more than likely what it's going to be. And then, of course, Gadget in the mid. So we're going to see that coming out from Arctic Wolves here. And then to round out Ratpack's draft, a hero that I love so very much, the Lieutenant, coming into play, and as well as the Feng Mao. So Feng Mao has always just been a good overall solid hero in that off lane. He has everything you want to see in an off laner. He is able to, he has mobility, so he has a defensive means of staying alive with a conversion shield, and he does get benefit out of some level of farm. They are able to get in the off lane there. So I like that Feng Mao being picked up there. So what do you think about this Belica picked up?
So the way that I want to talk a little bit about the way that Ratpack lane things. So a lot of the time they're putting their duo lane combo in the mid lane, which means that Belica is going to have access to a huge amount of farm. And when you see a Belica in that position, she's also able to push things pretty well with the Void Bomb coming in.
Yep.
So she's going to get a lot of levels and quite a few card points as well. Could be taken advantage of, but sometimes it's really difficult to be able to kill a Belica since she can always put out that drone as well as the seismic disruption assault. Or whatever. Assault. Seismic assault. There you go. That's why we got two people here. But they're going to get a lot of levels onto her, and that's really the main thing. She just has to be able to stay alive, which going against one or possibly two heroes shouldn't be the most difficult thing for her at all.
Very interested to see how this is going to go down. Overall, looking at these drafts, I mean, me personally, I got to say, I think I like Arctic Wolves a little bit more. They have, I think, a lot of wombo combo potential, but at the same time, outside of their ultimates, still very, very deadly. But you can't discount Ratpack as well. You have a lot of big zone. I mean, all the zone control that they have is insane. If you like the Decker, the Aurora, the Lieutenant Belica, they can just say, "You will not fight here," together. And if Arctic Wolves do fight there, can find themselves in for a world of trouble. So, I think it's a battle of the sort of wombo combo-esque potential that Arctic Wolves has versus the consistent zone control that Ratpack has. But we'll see how it goes down, my man, as I'm going to get myself all set up here. Not quite ready, but Pith, final thoughts on the draft as we get ready to go.
So what Arctic Wolves have is, yes, the wombo combo, but they also have a huge double stun with a thunk into the boulder toss from Rampage. And the thing is, while you also have the wombo combo there, you also have Muriel that's going to be able to prolong this fight, so they're going to be able to throw out more stuns, more damage, and stay alive a little bit longer, which makes it difficult for Ratpack because, you know, their goal is to be able to obviously win the fights, but be able to just survive that, and almost makes too many targets for Arctic Wolves to be able to take down. And that's good if there isn't a Muriel in the equation, but you're going to have to take care of that eventually, because if you let Arctic Wolves throw stun after stun after stun, it is just not going to work out well at all here. So we'll see how Ratpack are able to work with that. I personally like what Arctic Wolves have going, and I think this Muriel factors into their lineup pretty damn well.
Well, without further ado, Pith, I'm ready to get this underway. Shall we?
Let's do it. Let's start it in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Whoever wins this is going to move on. Whoever doesn't won't. So these guys are both up
Very
against
simple.
the ropes. That is, yeah, that's how it goes here on the PCL. It's that straightforward. We have Sherrick on Twin Blast, Phasma on Narbash, Crazy Fool on Muriel, Cosby on Rampage, and Vanilla Cutie on Gadget.
So
And that
cute.
is your team of Arctic Wolves.
Involved will be playing the Lieutenant Bellica. Lucer, he's got his Decker in that Monarch skin. Strafe handling the Sparrow also near the mid lane. He's been pretty good on the hero before. We'll see if he can keep it going this match. Bum playing the Feng Mao. And finally, Crown is going to be taking care of that Aurora.
I think every time I say Arctic Wolves, chat just gets a little bit more triggered every time. Or Feng Miao.
Isn't that part of the job description, though? Isn't part of your job to trigger the chat?
Every now and then in very subtle ways, right? Like you can't be upfront about it.
You can't have too much triggering, right?
Yeah, almost subliminal levels. Like they're triggered, but they don't know why. Like that's the hallmark of a great caster, is if they're able to manipulate the psyche of their audience.
Oh God, we can't tell them that though.
I just get, you know, it's I like saying Fang Meow. It's fun. It feels good to say, and
I like cats.
I mean, all we need is that Fang Meow skin. We just need that skin, please.
We have the Sparrow Meow.
You know how much. You know how much money Epic would get if they made a Fang Meow skin? Everyone would be buying that. All right,
buy
so
like
Crazy
20
Fool,
of them.
Crazy Fool is going to be in the offlane Muriel there. Offlane Muriel versus a Bellica. And immediately, Bellica already using the Void Drone like right away. So just trying to zone out Crazy Fool. As far as this matchup goes, I feel like this is going to favor the Bellica considerably here. But I don't know. We've seen the semi-carry Muriel before from Ram Riddles, where he's able to 1v1 people. So it's entirely possible that I'm way wrong and Crazy Fool is just going to be a carry.
1v1 people, 2v1 people. I don't think that Ramriels cares about it at all. But yeah, I definitely agree. Muriel's going to have a really difficult time in this lane because every single time she wants to try to go and harass Involve, like that's one of the biggest things about a Muriel. You can use the consecrated ground, but every time you do it, you're going to lose even more mana thanks to that energy drone that Involve was putting down. So Crazy's going to have to be a little bit careful here. He doesn't want to go too hard and doesn't want to trade too much because he could easily find himself at a deficit here.
Cosby and Phasma rotating around behind the jungle. They're going to try to catch him out. Do they recognize it? Turn around. Check your 6, Lucer and Strafe.
Here it comes.
I don't think they know about it. Strafe is actually forced out by the aggression of Vanilla. The boulder does land onto him. Phasma's there. Sticky Bomb is actually onto Crown, not onto the target they were looking for. So that may have been enough damage to get the kill. And that fight not going the way. I think Vanilla sort of showed what was happening. He moved forward aggressively a little bit too early. And that immediately forced Strafe and Lucer to back up. And that put them out of in a more defensive position and were able to get away from what looked like to be a secure gank. But this looks like a little bit more of a secure gank right here, Pith, as Involve is going to get taken out there. A big 4-man rotation for First Blood this early on, but they get it nonetheless. They were looking for Strafe, but instead they'll settle with Involve.
Yeah, with this kind of lineup, you absolutely have to get the aggression out and also look at the rotation in. It wasn't just 4-man over to that lane, it's also Sherrick going towards mid. So they're going to let Phasma take a couple of levels here as Sherrick goes and defends that lane, but he decided to rotate over, giving the Feng Mao a little bit more time in that lane to himself.
Bum is going with the traditional healer token and health potion as we always see in the offlane, same with Crazy Fool on the Muriel as well. So, oh, good old Stasis Bomb never landing. Yo and Mikey. So it is. Yo and Mikey, the last time we saw a 1v2 matchup in the mid lane, it was Yo and Mikey on Howitzer. Howitzer has that mobility and defensive utility of landmine. Gadget has the speed gate, but that isn't quite as potent when it comes to offensive utility. You can't use it to get people underneath towers or anything like that. So this 1v2 matchup here, I feel like Vanilla is just going to have to, just do what he can, continue to try to harass down the Sparrow. But I don't think we're going to see much aggressive potential coming out from the Gadget. Just play passive, secure the farm, and allow your team to set up the kills and follow up from there. As imagine the mindset of a mid-Gadget in this sort of situation.
You really can't be aggressive here. You honestly have to just wait until you get your levels up. Nearly play it as a solo lane like you would in the off lane. You just have to make sure that you can get the level advantage because that's what you're going to get over the duo lane, and just hope that you don't end up dying. You can't play aggressive there unless someone comes in with the stuns, which Rampage and Narbash have been doing a pretty good job of doing up to this point.
5 minutes here. The river buff spawn. Crown has got his hands on the red buff, increasing his ability damage. It's actually a considerably strong card. Gonna come over here looking for the cryo potentially. Hoarfrost not going to land. Phasma, unless I'm bugged, is only level 2 here.
You're not bugged yet.
Okay, that's yeah, a level 2 Narbash at 5 minutes in. Phasma's been very, very rotate oriented, but we talk about when you do that sort of rotation, gank oriented sort of play style, it really can become a liability and you can start to fall behind on levels. Now, of course, Narbash is a support, so it's traditional to see your support being a little bit behind on levels, but you still don't want to get that far behind here. Getting Crash Bang Boom online and getting the additional damage from Thunk really can be the difference between winning a team fight and losing it in the we transition to the mid game here in the next 10 minutes.
Phasma, from what I've seen from him, has been one of the very unselfish supports that we have in the PCL so far. He doesn't really mind about not getting levels, and what you do when you see that is you have to make sure that as a support you're getting as much out of as little that you're getting. So maybe he doesn't get a lot of levels, and that could be fine. We're going to see him pretty far behind on card points throughout the game if he continues with this kind of style, which, having a Rampage on his team, you do want to get those stuns in and take advantage of the early game. But yeah, he's going to need to try to make sure that he does get the levels up eventually so that he doesn't fall too far behind, that he just runs into a fight, immediately gets blown up because he doesn't have anything.
Right, and there is, of course, Narbash still scales as more of a support than that of a like a melee tank like Steel, Richter, Sevarog, so on and so forth. So even though he's got that big model of his, that big body of his, he actually isn't. He doesn't scale as tanky as one would expect, given his aesthetic, and that's another thing you have to take into account here. Especially when you consider that his ultimate is all based around people being near you. So that's another consideration that all Narbash players are always having to be concerned about here. And the thing about Narbash's Crash Bang Boom is, now the snare component of it is much more, well, is generally much more consistently valuable than that of the knockup of it, because there's just times where if you can just get that snare to secure the kill, you don't necessarily need the knockup part of Crash Bang Boom at the very end when he drops the base. That's just sort of icing on the cake at that. That's just sort of icing on the cake at that point in time.
Base and cake, two things that I like a whole lot here.
Oh, man. Could have more stunts if we could just get a base cake, that would be ideal. Strafe, that'd be the best. It's soaking up the Tesla Dome. Boulder doesn't hit. Strafe able to dodge it. A couple more auto attacks might be there. Strafe is trying to dodge it, but Vanilla is going to line up and get the kill. Crown moves forward. Hoarfrost is there to block off the retreat.
Come on, sure, go, man.
Now, Crosby's there and doesn't need level 5 when you have Crazy Fool, the Reversal of Fortune online. That's the strength of the offlane Muriel. Very early level 5. Allowed that kill. The Reversal of Fortune was there and allowed for this continued 5-man rotation in the mid lane to do what they did. Bum does rotate over, does get a reprisal kill over onto the Rampage, but still, they're going to continue to get this. They already have picked up 2 kills, and they're going to try to take down this tower. This early on, Strafe's back alive, so he's here to farm to his heart's content. Bum's trying to do what he can. A slow but intentional push coming down here, and now the turnaround. Seismic Assault lands on a Phasma. No mana to be had. Neural Disruptor is there. The moment I saw no mana, I'm like, oh, Bellica, do it! And that's exactly what happens. Neural Disruptor is going to blow his brains open. And I think, Arctic Wolves just overstayed there a little bit, Pith.
Yeah, just a little bit. They were a little bit greedy trying to go for the tower. They nearly take it down, but honestly, I don't know if I would commit that much for a tier 1.
Yeah, I mean, especially this early on, you have a lot of ultimates commit. What ultimates you do have online at that point already used just to get those kills. But I like that they were trying to capitalize on an opportunity they had, that they think they had, but I think the window of opportunity they had was much smaller than they first originally thought. Nonetheless, they still were able to pick up some important kills on the Strafe and were able to get Amber Infusion into the heroes that they were looking for, but definitely could have been a little bit better with a little bit smaller shot calling there. And that we talked about Arctic was that something that they really, if they want to win this game, they got to make their shot calling has to be a little bit more improved than the last time we saw them. So they did win the fight, but it's all about what do you do after the fight that separates these the champions from the non-champions.
Yeah, you got to get the after in order to win these fights. And
yep,
it seemed a little bit strange to see Arctic Wolves staying there for so long. They were very low on mana. Their health pools were fine, but it didn't really seem like a situation with respawn timers being as low as they are to stay there all that long.
Bellica's trying to get some harassment on a Crazy Fool, completely ignoring CS Involve now picking up a page out of I believe it was either Phasma or Lucaire who had the double healer token. So all about that, all about that health regen and just sustain, staying in lane, getting levels, getting that very, very important farm. Crown on the jungle Aurora just now level 5, unless my eyes deceive me, which that might totally be the case. At least on my screen. Crown just level 5 and doesn't have that much farm, only at 11 card points as well. You'd expect to see maybe a little bit more at that point in time, but the jungler Aurora, do you think that she would be better suited in the off lane, or is it just a matter of just a failure to execute what you intend to doing when you do jungle that Aurora?
I think it's more that the jungle doesn't give you all that much. You can still farm very, very well on a hero, but your real utility is going to come from getting involved on the map, which coincidentally enough, Crown hasn't really done. He's up to level 5 right now, tried to do some work with the Hoarfrost, but it's really difficult in the early game to be able to make anything happen with that. So hasn't been able to get involved, and that's what's leading Tim to have a very low number of card points for this early in the game.
Grouped up in the mid lane is Ratpack. Strafe has the purple buff, so not sure if Arctic Wolves are aware that Sparrow is looming right there. Bellica set behind that wall. Maybe that's a great place to put that Void Drone, is right behind that wall where it still gets its full effect. And into the tower they go. Cosby has that boulder looking to potentially land it onto someone. It is on the bum. Convergent Shield is down. A lot of burst damage going down. Is a sticky bomb enough? It's not. There's none of the pure to mitigate it, and that's going to keep Bum alive. Continue to charge themselves forward, but they're not going to be able to find kills. They saved the tower, though, so they didn't get a kill. Keep their tower alive. 12 minutes in, there's 3 Raptors, but neither one of these teams are anytime soon, I think, are going to be rotating over these Raptors unless a big team fight breaks out here.
Yeah, it's also extremely important that Arctic Wolf haven't used the ROF just yet. It's going to have a very high cooldown when it's at the level 1 ability, so Crazy Fool, he just keeps sitting at his lane, keeps keeping it pushed out, and he's holding that ROF for when he truly needs it, which I think is the most important thing here for Arctic Wolf. Sure, there's a lot going on for them, but as long as they have the ROF, they have that ability to stay in the team fight.
Taking a look here, how the economics are looking here. Involve is actually, out of all people, the Lieutenant Bellica is the most farmed person on the match. Not something you see every day, but it's just a testament to Involve's skill as a player. 17 card points for him compared to Strafe's 14. On the other side of the field, Shirk at 16. So there is a little bit of a lead between the carries of these two teams. Nothing that really is all... Looking at the numbers, it's hard to define if one team has an advantage over the other at this point in time. I mean, it's an advantage, but it's really nothing to write home about. It's just, I think it's just the way the laning has been and how these teams have been, both of these teams have been rotating so much that we don't see as much farm on both sides of the field as one would expect 13 minutes into the match.
Well, if you think about it, Arctic Wolves, they're going to want to try to fight as much as possible. They have, I mean, we have teams like Oxygen NA who just throw heroes into the side lanes and keep them there for most of the match and let 3 heroes do most of the pulling for the most part. They don't lose too much because of it. And in this match, we see a lot more fighting. Heroes kind of staying in their lanes a little bit more, but it's not to the same extent that we have seen in the past.
An invasion of the jungle is what Arctic Wolves are trying to get here. The green buff has spawned. They are going to be able to steal it, as it actually was Vanilla who got it. There's the cryo used on Vanilla. There's the stun as well. Tesla Dome used more of a zoning tool. Now Containment Fence. A lot of ultimates being used to try to catch these teams out. Strafe showing up a little bit late, but punctuality doesn't have to be your strong suit here. You're able to get kills, but in this situation, not going to be the case. And yeah, oh wow, he's in there by himself. That was got to be so very careful. The Reaping Dash connects with a hero. Not what they wanted. Stasis Bomb on a Cosby. Couple of auto attacks, and they're both going to be able to get away. So what was happening right there, Pith, is you had Feng Miao pressuring in the left lane, sieging down a tier 2 tower against the Muriel. But of course, the thing you have to take in consideration is that global presence of Muriel with the ROF. So Feng Miao had to rotate away to that fight since the jungle invasion was starting to occur. And ultimately, I think they're just trying to force Crazy Fool out of that situation. And the moment Crazy Fool used Reversal of Fortune, then Feng Miao could have continued to push that left side tier 2 tower and even potentially take it. But Arctic Wolves, a little bit, they knew what was going on. No kills go down, and these guys are going to continue trying to find chinks in each other's armor.
It was interesting how the Feng Mao decided to engage there, as he does go into Crazy Fool right now. I don't see too much coming out of that one, just a little bit of harassing damage. But how Bomb came in, he really needed his team to be able to occupy Arctic Wolves for a little bit longer. When you come in for a wraparound like that, you're trying to capitalize on the fact that they're not going to be aware.
I don't think Strafe knows that Shuriken has the stealth buff. If Phasma lands a thunk, it could be the death of him. There's the quick double shot right there from Twin Blast. Vanilla's trying to do it. Vanilla doesn't have much mana, but he is able to get the kill with that sticky bomb. So execution wasn't flawless by any means, but they were able to get what they wanted done, and that is to take down Strafe, kill the Sparrow, and a mid lane push is what they're going to be aiming here. Lucer, not sure if he does have that containment fence online, but that tier 1 tower so low from the previous siege that we saw in the slow siege, which has been occurring throughout the course of the match. They're able to pick it up. 15-minute tier 1 tower in the mid lane, not the biggest thing to be concerned about, but it looks like Ratpack, they don't want to give this up for free. Cosby takes a big amount of damage. The seismic assault is there. Bum trying to chase down Gadget, going to give up on that as Gadget's going to get away and immediately turn around. Involve is so very low as Cosby just smacks him down with those big old rampage claws. And they are actually, that was Ratpack who tried to get a turnaround kill, but instead they were the ones losing that exchange. Decker and Bellica both going down, so what would have been just a tier 1 tower, actually due to that aggression, that botched aggressive push that they just did, also netted 2 more kills over to Arctic Wolves.
Every single time, we've got Bum trying to come in from the backside looking for the wraparound, but his team just isn't really working well around it. Now, the only reason that Arctic Wolves aren't taking more off of that one is that the lane control hasn't really been the best from them. They have to go into the side lanes and push those out. But I really need to see this Feng Mao. He needs to be utilized better. Like, I don't have a problem with him necessarily coming in from the backside.
You're saying it wrong. It's meow.
Feng Meow, I'm sorry.
There you go. There you go.
I can do a little bit of a better meow if it would trigger people more, you know?
No. You have to wait on that. You have to wait on that. All right,
just wait on it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But when he comes in from the backside, his team needs to do something with that. Like, I don't mind that he comes in from the backside and looks for a really good position. Sometimes that's what you need. But when your team doesn't want to do anything and then Arctic Wolves just turn right around and just kill him in the face every single time, it's not working. It just isn't.
Yeah, I feel like that's one thing that is lacking from the draft of Ratpack is consistent means of initiation. Whenever I say that, I mean basically forms of initiation outside of ultimates. Of course, you have containment fence, but that's a really long cooldown. Even at level 3, it's still a considerably long cooldown. I mean, Hoarfrost isn't the most reliable thing because you generally have to use another one of your abilities in order to get in position to do so. There's other means to do it, like maybe, just catching people out, but at that point, it's not a matter of initiation there. So, yeah, and Seismic Assault, very difficult to land consistently without having some sort of other ability to follow it up with. So, compare that to the initiating tools of Rampage for Cosby, Thunk from Phasma, Crazy Fool could use reversal. They can use Reversal of Fortune aggressively between either the Narbash or the Rampage. And so when it comes down to these team fights, I feel like the draft from Ratpack is much less we bring the fight to you, but rather you come to us. And I think it's more about letting the fight come to them. And Bum, once again, he's getting caught out here. And if that boulder lands, that's going to be the death of him. He goes down, gets caught out, and Feng Mao off the map for a minute here, Pith.
It's too aggressive again. He wasn't expecting someone to come in from behind, and he just did not have the warding that he needed in order to survive there. And that also comes in part from Phasma getting the D-wards off a little bit earlier so that Feng Mao didn't have the ability to see what he needed to in order to survive there or have some guaranteed aggression. Oh, beautiful thunk from Phasma again.
Yep. There's the boulder. There is the crash, bang, boom.
She's flying.
The ventilate in the air. I love it. The spaghettification of Lucer, and he gets taken out. And how fortuitous that was to occur right at, not Le Core, but a core around the Raptors. Le Core is for when you win the match, and they should be able to pick this up. I don't think that Ratpack is in any position to contend this. You got an Aurora on your team, but the big power play and the overall just strong rotations that Arctic Wolves have displayed continue to yield them a great deal of success. And Crazy Fool, man, he's only really had to ult, I think, twice this game thus far. He really hasn't been, and he's just been doing a really good job of doing what a good Muriel does, and that's utilizing that global presence to force map control and manipulate the waves to your advantage.
Manipulate the waves, get a little bit of farm on yourself, and always have that ROF in reserve for when you need it. And that's just how you play that off-lane Muriel. You keep on going, keep on pushing the lane in, hope that you don't get ganked at a bad time, but you can always ROF out anyway. So he's been doing a great job with that as his team works around it as well.
Yes, that is, I would say, the more important key of playing with Muriel is not the individual playing Muriel, but rather the way the rest of the team plays around it. That is much more integral and important than just, oh, hey, we have a Muriel. Like, I'm a Muriel player. I can just come into a fight at any point in time. Shurick, as we saw before, the last time we casted him, is the one in front leading the charge. The green buff. They continue to make these timings around that green buff, and they have that down to just, oh, look at this cryo. This is what they needed. This is what Ratpack needed, was the stasis or the containment fence. But I think there had to have been a purity sensor right there. I have to imagine that's what that was, because that cryo did absolutely nothing right there. Bum in the front lines. It gets stunned up by the Thunk. Cosby's trying to tear him down. Reaping dash away, but all the meanwhile, Involve is able to take out Gadget, so this is 1-for-1, and sure, it goes down too, but not for the cost of the Rangers. So both carries have been taken off the field, 2-for-2. Bum trying to juke, trying to jive, trying to keep himself alive. Not sure if he's going to be able to. Crash, bang, boom. That's going to secure the key, 2 kills. Maybe not. Lucer still continuing to get away. And Involve's still here. No mana. I don't think he has that Neuro Disruptor online, but if he does, he's got to play very careful. The Void Bomb goes down, didn't hit anyone, so he doesn't get any mana return from it. A couple more auto attacks might be enough to take down Cosby. Looks like Cosby should be able to get away. A 3-for-3 exchange. So, I mean, considering the circumstance here as we continue to see them pursue each other, considering that circumstance, Pith, I thought for sure that Ratpack should have won that fight much more convincingly than the way they did.
That's just how Aurora gets countered, honestly. Like, you can say that she is broken hero all you want, but well, when there is an item that you have to buy that essentially counters most of the hero, that's a pretty good response to it. But still, in the end, Shurick, this was one of the situations where perhaps he was a little bit too aggressive. Went in on the backside and he got strafed, man. Strafe went in with the damage. Decker gets the stun on the high ground, and then it was just Shurick being a sitting duck for the rest of the team to try to take down. And they did very easily, tried to juke around, but it was not going to be enough in the end. So that's something that he's going to have to think about in the future, that there is that stun that can easily come in and take him out of the fight so quickly when there is a strafe hitting him down. So perhaps wants to play with his team a little bit more in the near future, because you can have a Muriel on your team all you want, but if she can't put her shields out to try to keep you alive because you're too far up, that's not a Muriel that's able to do her job because you're too far up. Yeah, absolutely. You gotta be in range of those abilities, and unfortunately that wasn't the case. And that fight, Ratpack, even though it was a very, very, I would dare say, a somewhat sloppy fight on both sides of the field, Ratpack did come out of it with a small advantage, but an advantage nonetheless. Oh yeah, reversal of fortune is there. This is just him trying to keep alive. Cosby, how's that insta boulder? Thunk, crash, bang, boom. Bum gets caught out. Containment fence has caught out 3, but the Tesla Dome unfortunately used a little bit to the left right away, but that's just because Gadget was caught out and Strafe was able to get the kill. Here's the cryo, and that's on to 2. Beautifully done. Stun's going to be there, isolating Crazy Fool, and Strafe comes in from the river, through the fog, and here comes Involve from the high ground as well. Takes down Crazy Fool. I believe that was a Neuro Disruptor. There's the Neuro Disruptor. That is so satisfying to see in here. And Ratpack, they have been sort of on the back foot for the past 15 minutes, a majority of this match. But the last 2 engagements, they're barely edging out a victory here in these fights, but they are edging out a victory nonetheless. And that starts with, although Shurick, he was saved by the Muriel, he took way too much health damage at the beginning of that. It directly affected his ability to penetrate into the fight and get the huge damage that we know that he's capable of, but he just wasn't really able to do so safely. And that is one of those situations where Shurick says, okay, maybe I should rein it in a little bit. And we're starting to see that card point advantage really make it stand here for Ratpack.
Yeah, taking a look at the numbers here, the CS considerably ahead for Ratpack here, 430 to 370. But as the kills a little bit closer, but Involve still continues to be the most farmed person, tied for the most farmed person on the map here. Carry Bellica apparently is a thing, ladies and gentlemen. But Shurick is at 36 to Strafe's 32. Strafe once again going with a crit Sparrow as opposed to a more attack speed based, nailed it. Sparrow right there. So a little bit of a later power curve, but ultimately when you do hit 60, a somewhat of a stronger bursty power curve. And the last time we saw that is what it was tied up with Lucera on that Decker too. But again, if Shirk continues to maintain this lead, sometimes fights can literally be the difference between we had enough damage to take down your carry and you didn't have enough damage to take down ours, especially when you take into account the Muriel. Best way of mitigating economic disadvantage, though, of course, is the Raptors.
He tried to steal it a little bit with the Tesla Dome there, but wasn't quite able to come in time, and I don't think was the best placement either, and this might be a good spot for Ratpack.
Yeah, they know Tesla Dome's down, and that's a big factor. Phasma just gets taken out.
Oh
He's
God.
trying to get some value out of the Crash Bang Boom and Reversal of Fortune, so a lot of ultimates. Ratpackers coming in here and cleaning the floor. They already have 4 down, and that's Ratpack just capitalizing and pouncing on that opportunity. They caught out Phasma, forced out the Reversal of Fortune very early, and the Reversal of Fortune did pretty much nothing at all. Maybe delayed Phasma's life by a second or two. And Ratpack are just coming back with a vengeance right here. Involves being so valuable on this Bellica. I think we haven't seen a Bellica play an outstanding Bellica performance in a really long time. And I gotta say, Involve is making this hero look so very strong. Tier 2 tower in the left lane is gonna fall, and you better believe they're gonna try to take down this inhibitor. And if they are able to win another fight like that, they could just win the game right here, Pith.
They could get even more than that as well. Bellica forcing them back with the Void Drone. They've got so much, and that will be an inhib for themselves. So
yeah.
They get a huge amount off of that. And that last fight, the key to it was the zoning. We talked about a little bit earlier if Sevrog is able to, force back that purity sensor to keep that out of the fight. Well, that time they just found 2 heroes with the cryo that did not have Phasma near them at all.
Yeah.
So he wasn't able to put the purity sensor out, and they take advantage of that. Take down 2 huge heroes right away with a good cryo into the Fangmao Shattered Earth.
Right lane, minions are doing what minions do. Crown's on the way and should be able to clean that up prior to that tower falling. I don't think there's like a massive amount of it's actually not a single siege minion in that wave there. Thankfully for Ratpack, else that could have been them losing that tier 2 tower. But the left lane inhibitor is down on the left because that's why it's called the left lane inhibitor, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed.
So ideally, getting any inhibitor is always very valuable, but I've always said I like it when I see the side inhibitors go down because then you can have more control over the map. The amount of time it takes for you to rotate from left to right, considerably more than that, obviously. If you take down mid, you don't gain as much control. So now, not only do they have the control over the lanes, but that is also the opposite of that of Orb Prime, which, as you can tell, judging by the grouping of both these teams, is going to be the next big point of contention and could just dictate who ends up winning this game, especially if it falls into the hands of Ratpack. So they have the zone control on the opposite side of the map. They can control the Orb Prime. Ratpack are in excellent position, despite the fact that you wouldn't believe it. Ratpack have been playing from behind momentum-wise and map control-wise for a long time. They are now in firm control of this.
Firm control indeed. One thing they do have is Crazy Fool able to keep pushing that lane in. Even with the super minions there, they're still able to keep that out, and he can easily join the team with an ROF. But, if the fight goes a little bit longer than Arctic Wolves would want it right now, that's the problem. Because if Muriel gets the ROF in maybe a little bit earlier, that lane is going to start to push in. And if she hasn't done enough of her job there, that could easily be Ratpack taking a little bit more than just an inhib.
Strafe again, just like clockwork, going in there, 28-minute mark every 4 minutes. If you can divide it by 4, you better be over by those Raptors. And again, another big boost of Amber over to Sparrow, 40-40. So the small advantage that Shurick has had throughout the course of this match, depending on what point in time, varying from 3 to 5 card points, has now been completely negated and actually lost. Strafe now pulling ahead of that of Shurick here. Though it still doesn't compare to Involve, as he's at 45 points here. So the build for Bellica here, Bellica is one of the heroes who gets a great deal of value out of a card we don't see very often, and generally we see picked up very in the later stages of the game, and that's Hydroverser. She gets so much damage out of that card just due to the way she scales when you pick it up at the right time.
Yeah, it's a higher cost card, which makes it difficult to pick it up earlier into the game, and it relies on your mana pool to be extremely high. So you gotta make sure that you have the mana pool to be able to support that before you get it. But actually, we could see something here where they're able to use that a little bit better.
We do see Cosby looming in the side of the jungle there. Bum is going to scout that out, and actually he did have the purple buff, so I don't think Bum, whether or not knew he was there, it's still Cosby's going to be retreating nonetheless. Now, generally when we see a Hydroverser here, Pith, there's an Infinity Stream to follow it up. Now, of course, Infinity Stream is the card that grants you the mana regen compared to how much mana you have. But not only that's the primary, one of the primary reasons you pick it up, but also it gives you that ability pin as well. So very valuable card. Again, it's still a very high cost card, and that's why we generally don't see these picked up until later into the game. But the moment you're able to get that Hydroverser and the Infinity Stream on top of the ability penetration, all of a sudden the damage just goes up significantly out of Bellica. Now, Bellica, her damage doesn't scale as well as your other sort of mid laner heroes like a Howitzer or a Gideon, but still, her Void Bomb and her Void Drone will be zapping people down, doing devastating amounts of damage. And don't forget, she has that Stasis Gem and the Blink Charm. So I really, really like this build. It gives her utility, it gives her mobility, and it gives her big amounts of damage.
Yeah, that Bellica is going to be one tough cookie to crack here. She's got a lot of different ways to survive, and this is something that Arctic Wolves are going to have to take care of very quickly.
Bum tracing down Crazy Fool. I wonder if Bum has the damage to get this kill, especially since the inhib is down. He can pursue to his heart's content. He uses the ultimate. Not going to be enough damage there. I guess at minimum it's going to force him back a little bit, but here comes Phasma with the rotate around, maybe trying to catch him out with the thunk. He has to be careful to not just give up a kill right here. Crazy Fool's here. Using this ultimate, I think, not as a means to secure a kill, but more of a means to keep himself alive here.
Keep himself alive.
Yeah, you got to
create space.
Got to respect that. Absolutely have to respect. Yeah, he just forced out 2 rotations right there from both of the supports, and all the meanwhile on the other side of the map, tier 2 tower falls, and it's just up to Shurik to protect this tower. So Ratpack are just doing a phenomenal job of manipulating the map to their advantage and then following up off of it.
And with what Bum was able to do with the Fang Mao, I'm used to different people playing that here, obviously. But you know, he was able to just force out so many rotations, and you know, Ratpack even thought for going for the prime for a couple seconds there. They looked at it, they stared at it, went for a couple of D words, but this should be the area of the map where we see most of the aggression the next couple of minutes.
Yep. They continue to posture on Orb Prime. Arctic Wolves have done a good job at maintaining at least one ward of that area to have vision on it, so that way they don't do what Carbon did and just sneak out an Orb Prime without anyone even knowing about it, us included. So they have the reconnaissance they need to understand that, because if that Orb Prime falls, they could just, there's so many different win conditions available to Ratpack at that point in time. Right now they have one just by going to the left lane and taking down the core after a team fight, but many different avenues to victory means your opponent has flexibility, and when you're down that inhibitor, that's the last thing you have. You're on the back foot. You got to play defensively and more reactive than proactive. You can play proactive, but it takes a while to set up. You have to make sure your left lane is pushed out. You have to make sure that you have good vision, and you also have good warding, which is all predicated on the fact of you being able to get out of your base without fear of losing more objectives. And that's exactly, and that with that time it takes to build up, all the meanwhile, your opponent, they're at Raptors, farming the Raptors. They have full river buff control. They are constantly warding your jungle, de-warding anything you try to get. So very difficult situation here for Arctic Wolves if they continue to play patient and Ratpack make a mistake. Arctic Wolves recognize the mistake and pounce on it. They could get themselves back into this match, but it's all up for Ratpack. This is their game to lose here, Pith.
Yeah, they have definitely turned the tables here. A game that was mostly in favor of Arctic Wolves for generally the first part of this game. Ratpack have brought themselves right back into it, and they'll take the last tier 2 tower off the map with involve of all heroes going right in.
And that's just that's I guess when you're Bellica with 54 card points and the most farmed person by a significant amount, you can just do things like that. Boulder to fly, but not to land. They pick up that tier 2 tower, continuing to constrict the map control. Ratpack are playing very patient right now. They know they have the advantage. They absolutely know they have the advantage, but they're not being... they've been playing passive this entire game, which I think they have to, due to the nature of their draft, which we've spoken about many times here. But as long as they continue to do this, I think this is just a slow bleed for Arctic Wolves. They have to figure out something to where they can get themselves on the map and play to their draft's advantage. When your Muriel, when your global presence hero is just relegated to constantly being in the right and isn't actually able to give you any map control, but simply just maintain a semblance of map control, your draft from the get-go, you are inherently at a disadvantage. And it's a Ratpack are just playing around that so very well.
Yeah, they're definitely taking advantage of that Merle having to stay in that lane. Bum even going in there sometimes to push her back, make things so difficult for her trying to keep that lane pushed out. But even when it's just her there, she's just always playing against a wall, it seems. She can't really push that minion wave out so far. And what's really the point in having an ROF across the map if when you leave the lane, it's just going to push in right against you anyway. So
yeah.
They need to find some kind of advantage here. I think that Arctic Wolves, sure, they can wait for that mistake all they want, but eventually that chokehold is going to keep on coming, and someone's going to take prime. And if Arctic Wolves let this go much further, that someone is going to be Ratpack.
I think what if they could find an opportunity to catch out Bum as he's just been continuing to push this wave out, that could really open up the field for him. But I think Bum has just been doing a damn good job. He is. Cosby's in the jungle, but the rest of the team is collapsing. Crown does have the purple buff. And so if he's able to get a good value Hoarfrost or Cryo off on the right target at the right time, he might be able to. But Involve is in trouble, as you mentioned that. On the other side of the field, I was like, where the hell's Bellica? Oh, it's all the way over there. So Bellica does go down, but at the cost of the rest of the team. Crazy Fool and Cosby have been caught out. The Tesla Dome chewing them apart. And Crazy Fool has been taken out. Didn't even have time to really have much value at all in that fight. Cosby jumping forward, trying to catch out Crown. Hoarfrost is going to go down and allow him to get out of harm's way. Lucer caught up with the Thunk. Shirk's going to move forward. Double stasis bomb into the rocket boots. The boulder misses as well. Someone kill that man. There we go. Shirk ends up getting the kill. So this is what Arctic Wolves needed right here. If Crazy Fool is still alive, that would be ideal. But to take away the map pressure from Involve, they don't have to worry about containment fence. They have about 45 seconds to push out these waves and get some control back. And from there, try to get something going off of this. There has to be a cascade of events for them to have a hope of winning this. And that was the first sort of starting of that. It's up to them to start that cascade to get themselves where they need to be.
This is a bit of a ballsy play, I would say, from Arctic Wolves. Going for the Prime. They've got Shirk and Cosby doing some good damage, but Bum is coming from the backside, and you can't fight Prime and a couple of pairs as well. Beautiful Hoarfrost from Crown.
That was beautifully done. Oh, their Shatter was actually interrupted by Cosby right there. If that landed, that could have been absolutely devastating. Could have cost him the game. Shirk is there trying to take down Strafe, but Strafe right now, unfortunately, just so very strong. And Crown was there to help as well. Turning around, there's the Earth Shatter coming back on cooldown. Strafe takes down Rampage by the time he's even able to jump away. Arctic Wolves, they had to do something. That was a all-in play right there, Pip. But that's something, they had to do something like that for them to even have a hope. Unfortunately, though, with the River card coming out right there, and they just flopped it right over. And now they're going to go down mid lane here. They don't even need, they're just saying we don't even need the Orb Prime. The only people up are Gadget and Muriel. At very minimum, this inhibitor is going to fall. The question is, can they keep themselves in this game? Goes forward, uses the Cryo. Stasis Gem is going to negate it. But now follow-up from Bum is here. Actually runs into the Hoarfrost, Vanilla does. Muriel's granting the shields. So this aggressiveness from Ratpack, paying more. You could tell they were trying to go for the game there, Pith, because they weren't going for the inhibitor. They were going for the kills. If they're able to get those kills, that could have been the game, but they don't. And now the game still is not, they still haven't won it yet. They're going to fall back. They're still in control, but they could have just gone with a more conservative play, pick up in the inhib, and then fall back. Didn't play out for them.
Can you give me 38:30 on the time?
Yep.
All right, so.
Here, 1 second.
Yeah, in that last fight, you're there. Okay, I will give you a countdown to that one then.
Sounds
so.
Good.
We still have Ratpack making some huge moves. 2, 1, 38:30 should be good now. So yeah, Ratpack they've been making some huge moves, taking the Prime there after that last fight. It's interesting how they try not to go for too much, and I think that's really been the recipe for success for them here. They've been playing within their bounds, not trying to be so far out, which is more the style of Arctic Wolves. You notice them trying to take more things here. Going for that Prime play didn't pay off in the end, and that's really starting to hurt them. They go for these plays that don't end up working that out, and that's just the patience from Ratpack coming into play here.
Yeah, that Arctic Wolves, man, if they're able to bring this back, it would be fantastic, but I think it's just up to Ratpack. Cosby has the purple buff. They caught out Involve. Phasma comes in through the fog wall, and Involve just gets absolutely destroyed. This is another opportunity presented to Arctic Wolves. The last time they took down Involve, they went in for an all-in play. Ratpack could have won the game. weren't able to follow it up, though, so these are here. So question I'm asking myself, and ball's down for 70 seconds. This wave is pushed out. The inhibitor wave is now pushed out past the mid lane. So they have map control. Look at right lane. Muriel's starting to get that value. She's starting to get value out of pushing this wave down. So all of a sudden, for just like that, map control is now in the hands of Arctic Wolves. They have to get something out of this opportunity here. It's just a matter of time before these opportunities no longer continue to be handed to them, whether it's because of a purple buff or whether it's because of a mistake from Ratpack or both of them combined in that situation. I feel like there's just not a sense of they just got to be quick. I feel like they're hesitating, and they got to start moving forward and get something going here, Pith.
Yeah, there's no urgency. Like,
that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
urgency.
Arctic Wolves had so much there, and they don't decide to go for anything. I'm sure they're going against Prime, but sometimes, even if you have Prime, that good initiation you saw Involve get absolutely blown up there, and then Arctic Wolves say, oh, well, we just have a big advantage. We're not going to pressure it at all. I can understand why they might not want to do that. One big mistake here can cost them the game, but sometimes you just got to have that killer instinct and figure out the play that's going to help you to win the match. One thing that kill does do, it delays. And with the Prime on the other side, that is a tool that you can use to your advantage. That Prime is only on a certain amount of time, and eventually Ratpack are not going to have that any longer. So Arctic Wolves decide they want to try to play on more level ground, but that level ground, I think, is going to be even more difficult to find, as many members of Ratpack are at that full 60 card points.
At least if it was just a fleeting moment, they were able to get outside of their base. They were inside of their own jungle for once. Oh my lord! But immediately that opportunity has gone. As Cosby's got to be careful. He's been forced to use the Enrage. Doesn't have his leap available to get away as he used it beforehand. Seismic Assault lands. Trying to do what he can is involved, but if that was a non-alt rampage, that could have been a kill. But thankfully for Cosby, that is the case. 40 seconds on cooldown. Another opportunity for Ratpack to go for mid inhibitor. Or Prime is isn't going to be on the field for upwards of another 3 to 5 minutes here. So Arctic Wolves, they're just going to have to fall back and stay inside of their own base again. The waves are no longer pushed out. Left is building up for them. So there's sort of a rubber band effect when you are pushing out a wave against super minions and you just have a normal wave, where you push that out and you're like, oh yeah, I got map control, awesome. I can leave that wave, we can leave that lane for a bit. But if you leave it alone, that wave actually starts to build up to the point where if it gets near your core, you just lose. It just builds up into like this just massive army of minions. So got to make sure that they don't go outside of the map right now. They have to make sure that they continue to defend their core against that rubber band effect, and that's exactly what Vanille's doing right now.
Minions, the real hero of Paragon.
They really are, man. They really are. It's they're the MVP. They're the MVP. They're the Winions is just a very, very fitting name. Ratpack have been looming outside the perimeter of these two inhibitors for minutes now, just trying to force a indecision or a decisional mistake out of their opponents of Arctic Wolves. And Arctic Wolves, they're remaining stoic, they're remaining patient, but they got to get something going here. They have to be. I mean, they're playing conservative from behind, and maybe thinking Ratpack is going to make a mistake eventually. Ratpack has made a mistake, but they haven't been able to follow it up here. The siege in the mid lane is here. Decent wave. The siege minion is pushing it down, taking about a quarter of its health chipped away. And inhibitors do regen, but not to the point where if they can continue to do this over a series of minutes, I think it's just a matter of time before that inhibitor does fall right here, Pit.
Yeah, for
if
sure.
they continue to do it.
And inhibs don't regen health when they're dead. So this is something that obviously Arctic Wolves are going to have to deal with. What I'm looking for them is that double stun to start up.
Containment fence onto Phasma Cosby, but Cosby should be able to jump away if he so desires. He's just going to go right into the wall right there. And they're maybe looking for an engagement here. Boulder, not going to happen. Stasis bomb actually completely prevented it. Crown gets stunned up. The cryo was negated, but the Hoarfrost on a Crazy Fool. Beautifully done. The cryo got no value. The purity sensor was used from Phasma, but the Hoarfrost is secured Crazy Fool's death. And this may be it. An inhibitor is going to fall. Their core is being attacked right now, so 2 people are having to be under the core. Cosby gets taken out. And Pith, we've been looming about this exact same thing for the past 15 minutes, where it's just Ratpack can just play around the fact that they have all the map control in the world. Their core was under Arctic Wolves' core was under siege. Their inhibitor was under siege. They can only be in so many places at so many times. Phasma to get cleaned up as well. Involved falls, but he did his job. 3 inhibitors down. And this right here, if they don't win the game outright here, this is just a inevitability right now.
Oh,
Sure,
wow.
does get a kill into Lucer.
Jeez.
Good job. But the big thing is Strafe. Strafe is still alive. He has that life steal. He's the big damage dealer, and he has the control of Crown. So they are going to fall back. But at what point do you say, boys, I think we won the game? And I think Ratpack's saying that right now.
Ratpack, they're just playing with their food right now. They've taken some pretty mortal blows against Arctic Wolves here, and it should be pretty easy for them to take the Prime when it respawns in a couple of minutes. So right now it is just all hands on deck for Arctic Wolves. Shurik trying to do the best that he can to try to push this out, but it just seems to me like all these efforts are going to be in vain. It's going to take a monumental undertaking for Arctic Wolves to come back into this one at all.
It would have been that case even when they were down that inhibitor, let alone now being down 3 inhibitors here. We'll see what Ratpack decides, in which mechanism Ratpack decides to either win the game or throw the game. Because really, it's come down to that. Bum's trying to get in there. He does have the black buff. Ooh, miscommunication. Reversal of Fortune goes out. I don't think Shirk needed it. Crazy Fool just doing what he does. He thought Shirk was in potentially going to go down there, but Shirk maybe didn't communicate over to Muriel that wasn't necessary. So Reversal of Fortune is going to be offline. It is level 3, so it's not as long of a cooldown, but still, if they continue to force out ultimates, non-ultimate ultimates like that, the situation is they're not going to have it for Orb Prime, which is spawning here in a couple seconds, and Ratpack are in tow.
Yeah, they are just so ready for this one. Phasma, oh no.
Phasma's completely by himself. Caught up by the Hoarfrost. He was just trying to put a ward. I'm just trying to ward, team. Please let me live. I'm too young to go down. I'm too young to die. I don't want to lose. He's trying to play the song of his people, but unfortunately, he wasn't playing the right song. Hit a bad note. He's going to get taken out. No Phasma for this inevitable Orb Prime. And, I mean, it's just not even a matter of contention right here, as what can you do? You have to have at least one person relegated to defending the core. Cosby's going to be leading the charge. I think your only hope is stealing it. Cosby, pop the ultimate. He's going to go in there. Can he do it? He wants to get the steal. He stuns on Louis. It's not going to happen. Involve's going to take the Prime Helix, activate the Prime cards. That would have been amazing to see, but unfortunately not going to line up here for Cosby. Isn't able to get the steal. All 5 team members of Ratpack do have their Prime cards activated. Lucero lands a stylistic stasis bomb onto Crazy Fool. But look at Crown. He's like, I just want to win the game. I got places to be. And he's going into the core. Crazy Fool being more of a distraction than anything else right now, Piff.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool distraction as well if you get a chance to talk to him. But unfortunately, that's gonna be the Prime going the way towards Ratpack, and here they go, just right towards the base. It was a really good fight, honestly, from Arctic Wolves. It
was.
But just that relentless pressure from Ratpack brings them into the semifinals.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Credit to Arctic Wolves for being as patient as they were, but even more credit to Ratpack for being more as patient as they were. It was a battle of conservative play styles coming to a head right there. And when you have a game that slows down like that, at least in a sense of team fighting, that's when strategical minds really start to shine. How can we outthink and outmove our opponent? It's not a matter of, hey, we outplayed you in the sense of I dodged your ability, but at that point, it is a battle of brain power. And Ratpack together, their decision making allowed them to get that inhibitor, and ultimately just that game was maybe a little bit longer than it could have been, but that's okay, man. That's the beautiful thing about Paragon. Arctic Wolves stayed in the game. There were a couple opportunities they had after the fact, weren't able to seize on it, and as you said, Ratpack getting to day number 2 into the semifinals there, Piff.
Yeah, honestly, Arctic Wolves looked so good earlier today. We really had some high hopes for them. They knew how to play against Carbon. I think there's no contesting that. Like, these teams play scrims, they get used to each other. Arctic Wolves had a plan for Carbon, but when it came to the Ratpack, they just were lost. It was sure trying to do his thing, and that thing was not working at all. And I hope that they can work out their issues and really make more of a battle in the next times they come back. But Ratpack, man, they make it into the semifinals, and they've got a tough road ahead of them, but they again are going to be contending for the PCL title.
That's it. And of course, we already saw Carbon was able to get themselves in there in the previous match. So the fighters there, or the returning champions rather, is what they're going to be. So there we have it. That's going to be it for today's broadcast here from the primary channel. Pith, I think our secondary channel is still ongoing, and it appears, it looks like they are currently casting Reborn versus let me see here. We'll see. They're casting the game. Jack and Nate are still at it. Yeah, they're in a game between Organized Confusion and Reborn. I think you all know Reborn. If you guys haven't seen Organized Confusion play, they came into the last PCL and put on a great performance, almost beat Oxygen with this like pick-oriented comp. So that's going to be a great match, and that's what we're going to be sending you to, is our second stream with Jack and Nate. But from here at the primary stream for the PCL, guys, thank you for your amazing support. Pith, an absolute pleasure, man, to be casting with you. This was very impromptu. Notch woke up this morning just really, really ill, and we're like, oh, okay, what are we doing? How are we going to do it? And Pith stepped up. Not only did he do the production, but also doing the casting as well. I know how difficult that is, and he knocked it out of the park, man. So it was a pleasure casting with you, and I can't wait to have the pleasure of doing so again, man.
You know what, that means so much for me to hear you say that, and honestly, I just hope that Notch, gets better.
Yeah, man, feel better, brother.
This guy, he works so hard at bringing you guys just the best Paragon casting,
that is.
And he deserves so much to be here with you guys, and I'm glad that we're going to be able to make some new memories with the PCL. But
me too, man.
It's been a pleasure for me, honestly, to cast for you guys today, and I hope that we're going to be able to have a little bit more fun in the future. But get better, Notch, please, for the rest of us.
Notch, get better. Get better. And I'm going to do that thing right after the broadcast ends for you, my man. So, what are these hidden statements that Notch and Shane are talking about? Don't worry about it. It's to make him feel better, guys. We're get him better and get him back into the
steroids
thick of things as quickly as we can. Yeah. Oh yeah. He's Rampage. He needs steroids. Yeah, totally. Guys, don't forget, before we send the host over to our secondary channel, contribute to these teams and head over to that Matcherino. We still have plenty of coupon, still have plenty of coupon codes left. PCL number 4, you can donate $1. There's a lot of cool backle rewards. If you guys are looking for a new keyboard or some Soylent or things like that, you can contribute to the prize pool on top of also getting something else out of it as well. And thank you, guys. That's going to be it. On behalf of everyone here on the Paragon Competitive League, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching. We're going to see you tomorrow right here, same place, for the semifinals, day number 2, and the finals, of course. Hope to see you there. We're going to send it over to our boys, Jack and Nate. Give them the same reception, the same support you would give us, and we'll see you guys tomorrow in Agora.